Hi, this is Julian for Pro Tools Expert. We're looking at folder tracks. Specifically today, what we're looking at is an important difference between basic folder tracks and routing folder tracks. So what I've got in this session is I've just got some drum tracks in a basic folder. Couldn't be much simpler. There is some other stuff, we'll have a look at that as we go along. But at the moment, what I've got is this. It's just some drums. However, what I've got is, the idea with the folder track, apart from being able to do this stuff and hiding and showing groups of tracks all together, which is really, really useful, there's a solo and a mute button. And back in the old days, before folder tracks, you kind of had to decide if you were submixing through an auxiliary, well, what do I want my solo buttons to be doing? I can command click or control click on a PC on the solo button and solo safe it, which means that's excluded from soloing. So you could either do this if this were the auxiliary input that you're submixing through, and then all of these tracks that were bussed through this aux could be soloed individually. Or some people perhaps might want to do it the other way around, leave that unsolo safed and solo safe all of these. So it just got slightly messy. Ended up doing things like this, where you'd shift click across all of these, hold option and shift, and then solo all of these together. Not ideal. There is a useful workaround, which is just to create a group of all these drum tracks and create a VCA. And then if you've got this button here, then if you click that button, obviously it'd sound the same because all the tracks are playing anyway. But if you were to click that, that would get around that and that would solo all of these and it'd all be fine. And yeah, it's a really useful additional use for a VCA. But we don't want to get into that. Instead, what I have is I've got a signal generator over here. Now, this signal generator is doing a messed up version of the subtone trick for synthesizing sub-bass underneath a kick drum. The way it works is you have a signal generator. Usually that would be making a nice deep sine wave, and that could sit underneath the kick drum, and it's triggered so it plays when the kick drum plays, because this send here, which is on bus 1, is the external keychain, which is set up on this gate. And this gate's blocking this sound from coming through here. So you can illustrate like this. And if I unmute it, there's the rather ridiculous sawtooth wave that I'm running through here. However, if I make this active again, that's stopped because the gate's stopping it. But when I hit play, this signal from this kick drum track is going to open up this gate and let this sound through in time with the kick. So why am I using this buzzy sawtooth? It's because it's a nice obvious sound that you'll definitely hear when it's there. Because what happens when I hit mute with a basic folder track? It mutes all of these, and you can see that because you've got an implied mute that turns up when I click this. But what happens to this signal here? Because this isn't muted, so if I hit play, am I going to hear that sound, or am I going to hear nothing? Just to prove what's going on, I suppose I should show the transport, because I hit play, nothing. Nice and quiet. However, what I've got over here is I've got exactly the same thing again, but with a routing folder. Actually, this is worth looking at because we've got something that's slightly new, which is a circle with an unfilled in center for the track show highs. That didn't used to be there before. That's there because these tracks here are hidden because this track's hidden. You see what's going on there, actually, if we just put those away. And yeah, if I unhide these, clicking on here, I can show and hide individually. But if I click on here to hide the folder, all of these others get hidden as well because this is hidden, and that's indicated by this unfilled in dot. So here we are. I have this routing folder. It's got exactly the same tracks in it, but this is a routing folder and this is a basic folder. We've got exactly the same situation going on here, just to prove that this is actually a routing folder. I've got a one-band EQ here with a low-pass filter. So if I hit play, okay, so we've definitely got that bus processing. We are definitely routing through here. But we've got exactly the same sending out to a duplicate of this signal generator. Exactly the same arrangement of a signal generator and a gate. And if I unmute this, and I bypass here, we've got that same sound again. So if I hit play, remember this is muted, we're not hearing these drums. We've got exactly the same situation going on. What's going to happen when I hit mute here? Different. So there, proof if it were needed that the important difference when muting tracks in a routing folder compared to a basic folder is that when you mute a basic folder, all of the member tracks get muted as well. Whereas when you press mute on a routing folder, that mutes the output on that folder as if it were an auxiliary, but the member tracks aren't muted. There is no implied mute that happens. And you can see that here. If I click on this, nothing happens to these mute buttons along here. But if I click on these all get that implied mute. Really important difference.